What's up, guys? This is Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY in the overall markets. I'm going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar, Donald Trump's speech from yesterday, and also some news about Tesla sales declining in Germany. How this may affect the share price, at least moving forward. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30, not to mention 8.1% APY in uninvested cash. The offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, let's talk about what's happening with this market. So, as you guys can tell, Tesla's starting to dip just a little bit, especially after some factors affecting it. We did try to bounce in the after hours yesterday, but now we're very flat during this pre-market session. We're going to be looking to see if we get some kind of dip move. There are three things affecting Tesla. I'm going to talk about what those three things are. The first thing to remember is that there's a lot of talk about Tesla sales in Germany right now. Their sales are down about 76% from what we saw in February of 2024. So in February of 2025, they're down compared to then. Not the best of news. They actually sold about 1,429 cars. And obviously, guys, there's a lot of politics getting involved, which is not the best of news. However, I do want to mention that as time goes on, we'll have to see how the Model Y refresh could help to offset this, and we'll have to see if the sales improve for the month of March. But for now, this was not the best of news in all honesty. So I'm just trying to be unbiased when I say this. That's what we're at least seeing so far. A little bit more negative for Tesla. And then at the same time, we had Donald Trump giving his speech yesterday in front of Congress. He did say that the tariffs that he's going to be imposing are going to cause a disturbance, in his words. He mentioned that the Mexican, Canadian ones, and Chinese ones may cause a disturbance, but he said that he's okay with that and that it's going to be worth it for the long term. So that's what Donald Trump said, right? There's a lot of information about this. I'm not going to go over every detail because of the length of this video. I don't want to make this way too long. But there was another piece of news from yesterday. We actually had the U.S. Commerce Secretary Lutnick come out, and he said that Donald Trump will probably announce a compromise with Canada and Mexico as early as Wednesday, which could scale back on his 25% tariffs. So that is some very, very big news, a very, very bold claim by Lutnick. So if that's the case, right, we'll have to keep our eyes open, right? If there is some kind of compromise, if the tariffs do go down, that could cause a huge move in the markets. So make sure you guys are ready. So that's why it's very important to pay attention to what Donald Trump is doing. Later on today, it's possible he does end up scaling back a bit on these tariffs. Not a guarantee. This is just what Lutnick is saying. So we'll see what happens as the hours progress. So just keep this in your mind. However, for now, there's one big time to be watching for volatility for Tesla and the markets. Today is Wednesday, March 5th, and just know that at some more times we have more data coming out. So at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the S&P Global Composite and Services PMI reports. This could cause more volatility, so get ready for that. Then at 10 a.m., we have the ISM Services PMI, business activity, employment, new orders, and prices all coming out. This is going to give us more information on what's happening with inflation, what's going on with the employment sector, what's happening with the overall services sector, and that could cause more volatility for this market. So get ready for that. If the whole market dumps when this data comes out, it's going to drag Tesla down lower. If the market balances when this comes out, the market could try to push Tesla higher. So keep that in mind. This is going to be a very, very big market moving catalyst. The services sector is going to be very huge. Now, on top of this, for Wednesday, we have very, very minor retail earnings. We do have Costco announcing earnings tomorrow, but I'm not seeing anything too crazy. And then last but not least, Donald Trump is still making a lot of headlines with this tariff talk from yesterday. His speech was very, very important, and he did mention the tariffs, how he's very, very confident about them. He did say they may cause a little disturbance, but he says it's going to be worth it. So that's the main thing I heard him say. And then he went on about his reciprocal tariffs, which, is going to be very important as well. It's going to be very impactful for the economy. So we'll see how things go with all of those. But Donald Trump continues to insist that he's going to be continuing with his plans. Besides that, I didn't see anything else that was too crazy. The main headlines are just about Donald Trump and also some more data that's coming out. So that being said, when you look at Tesla, we had this high up here. We came down. We actually broke structure right here. We're making lower highs and lower lows. I do want to mention that on the daily time frame for Tesla, if you guys go back to the charts, we technically have this big gap on the daily to fill all the way down to 252. So if we end up losing the low of yesterday, if we can't hold 260 to 262, we're going to be at risk of dipping to about 252 for a big rug pull if that ends up failing us. So just keep that in mind. So if we lose this low here, if we lose the 260 to 262 area, we're looking for a dump all the way down towards 252. However, if we could try to hold that support, if we see some buyers defend us right over here in this range, then it's possible Tesla tries to rebound. Now, for the time being, it does look a little bit dippy to me. As you can see, we're making these like lower highs. So we had like a high before we came down, we had a lower high, came down. So this does favor a downwards move. When we open, we might be coming down towards these lows right here, like 270 could be coming, if not like the 260 area. We could be retesting this trend line around 265. And we'll see if we get a big bounce when the data comes out, or if we get a bigger rug pull and we start dumping a little bit lower. Even if we do get some kind of dip move, I do think Tesla will form a temporary bottom soon. As we see a rebound in the markets, I still think that's very possible. We might get this little dip first, whether we end up basing in the 260s or the 250s, whether it's way down here or over here. So look for some kind of downwards move first, and we'll see if the data causes a bounce or not. And then we'll see how things end up going. Will this develop into a triple bullish divergence if we do end up breaking this low or not? I'll be waiting for this very, very closely. For the rest of these tickers, we have SPY. This is also looking kind of weak. So if you just look at this, like this, SPY is also making lower highs and lower lows. I do want to mention that on the daily time frame, okay, we have this critical support right here at this 200 EMA, which is currently at 569. But also historically, that 568-ish area is going to be a very, very big support. So it's possible we revisit that after Donald Trump's speech and after all this news that's coming out. It depends on our data. We do look a little bit weak right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if this trend continues, because when you zoom out, we're just consistently making lower highs, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. So in my opinion, I think it's possible we get another dip move to the low 570s, but we have to watch this blue trend line around 572. This is where the low was from yesterday, and to see if we base there. If not, around 568, and then we'll have to see if we get some kind of bottom before this market tries to see a rebound. Don't forget that Donald Trump possibly scaling back on the tariffs could affect this if that truly happens, like Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, is saying is going to happen today, as soon as today, if not by tomorrow or beyond. So we'll see. We'll see if that causes some kind of balance. But for the short term, look at the data that's coming out for the services sector. Does it cause some kind of rug pull for SPY? Do we get a big bounce? You want to see it break 585 to really bounce. Otherwise, we do favor downside a little bit more. So keep that in mind. I think we might be dipping to about 575 again, if not 572. And I have a suspicion that we're going to try to base between 568 and 572 in that range. It's going to be a very critical range for us. And then we could be looking for a bounce from there later on. But anyways, when it comes to Tesla, I forgot to mention one thing. If you want to turn bullish on Tesla, you want to see us break this high in the 280s and eventually get back above 287. We're going to dip first, and we'll see if we get a bounce later, so keep that in mind. Onto the QQQ, it's the same thing. We're making lower highs and lower lows if you just zoom out. Lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. And then there's going to be a risk of us potentially dipping back down right here. We want to see us actually reclaim like 503 to 506 to bounce. I'm favoring this downside move, so we might be looking for a move back down towards 492. If that doesn't hold, we could be dipping a little bit more, and then we'll see if we get some kind of rebound or not. We are still favoring us to possibly get close to these lows right here. We'll see if we try to base around the 490 area, if not around 485. And then there's going to likely be an attempt to balance. We'll see if we form some kind of divergence first before we try to see some kind of bounce move. And then also it depends on this data. So if we do dip, and then will the data cause a bounce or a rug pull? Get ready for a big move. But that's what I'm looking for, a small dip first. The Russell 2000 may also, it looks kind of dippy right here, especially after Trump's speech. He did mention he's more fixated on tariffs. Could be looking for 204 to 202. With the head and shoulders that formed previously, we could go all the way down to like 200 before we see some buyers defend later on. Might be a little bit more downside first, and then it depends on what kind of reaction we get to all of the data that's coming out, but there might be a little bit more downside. ES looks a little bit weak, might be looking for another temporary move down. We have to see if we can make a higher low or not, but we're still technically a little bit weak. When you look at this trend, this is what we're looking for. Can we hold this support? We're very close to it. I do anticipate there might be another dip move coming, but despite that, I do think we're going to form a base very soon. And if we do form some kind of double bottom, depending on what Donald Trump announces or these other factors, we'll see if we get some kind of rebound move later on, whether it's after this data comes out or because of other factors. So look for some downside for now. We could be revisiting 57.80. If that doesn't hold, we're looking for 57.50. Could dip a little bit before it tries to rebound back into the 5800s. So just keep that in mind. NQ is looking weak. We're making lower highs as well. You want to see us break 20,640 to rebound. If we don't break that, we could actually see a dip to about the low 20,000s, like 20,200. And we'll see if we get some kind of rebound move. That's going to be very important. So I'll be watching this at least very closely, and we'll see what kind of move we end up making. For Bitcoin, Bitcoin is also holding support so far. There might be some kind of dip move here, though, especially as we get very close to about 87,300. And we'll see if we make a rebound off of that. So watch that very, very closely. For Nvda, Nvda is on a bit of a downtrend right here. The 4 hours looking a bit more bullish. However, we have to see if Nvidia makes a higher low or not. So I'm not going to worry too much about that signal. If we get some kind of dip, right, you want to see if we could get a bounce, if we can make a higher low. As long as we don't end up losing the low, we could try to make a higher low and try to rebound afterwards if we get the move we're looking for. And we'll be watching to see where this low ends up taking us, right? So expect a little bit more downside first, then we'll see if we get a bounce from there. So keep that in mind for Nvidia. For the rest of these, we have Aapl. Technically on a downtrend, we're starting to lose this trend line. So we had this uptrend where this yellow trend line was. We're losing this. If that doesn't hold, we're looking for 233 as our targets. Might see a small dip, and we'll see if we get a bounce off 233 to reclaim 240. I'll be waiting for that. AMD is rejected here. It could be dipping again towards the lows. So there might be a move back down to at least the 98 area, and we'll see if we bounce, but it's still looking kind of bearish. Coin has like a nice double bottom right here. We'll have to see if we could break past 230 to really rebound. We're stuck in the middle going back and forth, so just give this some time. We'll see how it goes. I do think we might see another dip move right over here towards 209, and we'll see if we bounce from there. Amazon's also making lower highs. We have to see if we can make a higher low as well. Can Amazon try to make a higher low? If we try to bounce near 202, we could touch this and try to rebound, especially as we have this wick right here. That's very possible. On Meta, we want to see if we can make a higher low. We have this support at 630. I'll be watching that as well. We have a bullish divergence trying to form here. So it might dip towards 630, and we'll see if we get a bounce. I want to see it reclaim at 657 to really bounce. So let's see. Do we lose this low or do we break it? We might be trying to make a higher low. Same thing with Microsoft. We're going to be watching to see. It's trying to form a divergence. Google as well. So I'll be watching these levels just to be very, very safe. The VIX is still elevated, still going higher. It hasn't lost support yet, so this does suggest a dip is coming, but then we'll see where the market tries to base. For now, Tesla's going to likely dip lower with this bad news involving the German sales and also all this data that's coming out involving tariffs. But we'll see what happens with the moves at 10 o'clock a.m. And we'll be very patient nonetheless. I thank you all so much for listening. Have a good one, and peace out.